you see the bottles on the shelves and the customers, that's the tip of the iceberg, but they don't see everything that goes behind getting that bottle to the shelf. So that's where brands can come to our site and tell their stories via online marketing. They can give us videos. Obviously we have banners and placements within our website, but they can also do it via social media and emails and performance marketing.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here with Kathy Keefe, who's the Director of Partnerships at ReserveBar. Hey, Kathy, how are you?
Good. How are you, Andy? Nice to see you.
I'm doing great. Nice to see you. Looking forward to our conversation here.
Me too.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about yourself and about ReserveBar.
Okay. Well, like you said, my name's Kathy Keefe. I've been with ReserveBar for about 3 years. Started literally when the world shut down for COVID. I was very familiar with ReserveBar because I was working with a different company, but we were in the same office as ReserveBar. So I got to know Lindsay Held, who's the CEO. And it was a small team in the office in Ridgefield, Connecticut. And they started very bootstraps in 2013. Lindsay and his college roommate from Dartmouth decided there needed to be a way to ship alcohol to friends and family throughout the country. So they had some friends in the industry who suggested, building out this website in order to do that. So they did that. They partnered with retailers who were able to fulfill legally the Bev Alc package and ship it. And so that's kind of how it was born. Very bootstraps. I think Lindsay slept on his couch in the office or out of his home to start this business, and then definitely picked up over the years. But when COVID hit, that's when the magic happened. I guess the silver lining out of that terrible time. So
Right. So interesting. I love stories like that are just like they have this entrepreneurial drive and an idea, and you just go for it. Tell us a little bit about what the company does, what your engagement is with your customers, how do people find you? Tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So we are an e-commerce marketplace. I think 10 years ago, people didn't think to look online for alcohol. Everything was still brick and mortar for many purchases. And, they had the insight to say, let's do this. So obviously, again, they built on that kind of rise of the e-commerce platform. So we are an e-commerce marketplace for people to come to and order high-end spirits for delivery and for gifting. We service about 44 states, and people, can find what, very hard to find products, or, what they see every day on the shelf. It's just the convenience of having it either shipped or delivered on demand to your home.
Very cool. And so I love some of the stories that we talked about on our last call here. Let's talk a little bit about those. And one of the things that stood out to me was the relationships that you have with some of the brands and how they tell their story and how you work together on that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I'm part of the partnerships team, and we partner and connect with the brand. So it depends on, the type of large supplier. It could be, the Diageos of the world, to a very brand new emerging brand that's just trying to figure out like how to sell their product. So
Right.
We meet with them and we really listen. We want to find out, what's important to them, what's their brand story, what are they trying to, get in front of the consumers online versus brick and mortar on the shelf. It's a place for the brands to tell their story. I mean, you see the bottles on the shelves and the customer, that's the tip of the iceberg, but they don't see everything that goes behind getting that bottle to the shelf. So that's where brands can come to our site and tell their stories via online marketing. They can give us videos. Obviously we have banners and placements within our website, but they can also do it via social media and emails and performance marketing. So there's many ways for them to tell their stories through our partnerships, but that's what our team gets to do. We get to talk to these brands every day. So we certainly love that piece of it.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds like you're kind of like
Yeah.
ambassadors of the party.
It is. It's not a bad, it's not bad. I'll say that.
That's very cool. Talk to me a little bit about the growth of the company and how you've been growing the business. You mentioned COVID. It's kind of like a pivotal point in the growth of the business, but talk to me a little bit about how you're growing the company.
Yeah, so prior to me joining ReserveBar, you know, like I said, very bootstraps. I mean, there was a couple people that went out and were meeting in real life people in the industry. So I think they, Lindsay and his co-owner Jeff, they knew some people, and so we're getting introductions. They were able to, you know, to meet a lot of people, and obviously the networking. There's quick connections that way. And then, you know, I think they did a great job. They offered these brands that people, you know, may not be able to get like in the middle of the country or didn't know about. So they were able to offer that, but a very high end way. I mean, I think as you can see from our website, reservebar.com, you know, it's very high end. The products look beautiful. Our marketing department does a great job with the site. So you know, they built that up, and then COVID hit. So all of a sudden, people everywhere wanted alcohol all the time. So there was a quick pivot to the realization that, okay, we offer this great shipping service. So if a brand has a license to sell in California, our retailers can actually get that product to other states via their licensing to sell that product. So there's a 3-tier system in the bev alc industry. And so when COVID hit, you know, the shipping, it was, I mean, amazing, like how busy everyone was. I mean, this whole industry just kind of was, you know, let loose. So ReserveBar realized, okay, well, let's get into this on-demand service as well. So we were able to go out and acquire Minibar, which is, and it has an app, and it's for on-demand delivery. So you can get products within 2 hours. So that just, you know, enhanced our servicing. So not only can you get, you know, a high-end, hard to find, rare collection bottle shipped to you, but if you're in the right market, you may be able to have that in 2 hours to your house. So like, oh, I just forgot I have to bring a gift to a party, and here's what I can order this up while I'm getting dressed, and blah blah blah. So that's kind of how we've grown. COVID, you know, has since ended, so everything's kind of going back to where it was, where, you know, now brands can focus on brick and mortar as well as e-commerce, but e-commerce isn't going away, obviously, so everybody knows that. So we're just constantly, you know, rolling with the changes of e-commerce and making it better and better for the brands to sell their products.
Yeah, such an interesting story and great timing, like really interesting timing in the marketplace. And, you know, with COVID being so crazy for everybody, I can see how the demand just, you know, just grew amazingly at that point. Talk to me a little bit about who your customers are. You mentioned you're in 44 states. What's the profile of your customers? Who are they?
Well, for ReserveBar, and you know, when I say ReserveBar, we actually are ReserveBar Holdings now. So we own 3 companies. There's ReserveBar, which is the original e-commerce site. We also own Minibar, which I mentioned before. And then we just launched Get Stocked, which is really focused on ready to drink cocktails in a can and beer and non-alc, you know, kind of everything cooler occasion in a can. So offering that same kind of high-end content-driven platform, but really for that category of the bev alc industry. For ReserveBar, you know, our top selling product is whiskey. So, you know, we cater to kind of a higher end client that's looking to spend a little bit more money on the beverage alcohol that they want to purchase. But we also have, you know, some products that are lower end, but, you know, will reach a younger audience. And what we're finding is, you know, the consumer that's paying a lot of money for a bottle of whiskey or bourbon is also buying a case of, RTDs to bring to the golf course. So it's what's great for us is we, have a gamut of consumers that we can market to, as well as the brands.
Right. That's so interesting. I love the positioning, kind of the subtext of what you're saying here is you're sort of in this older business, but you have this modern kind of approach to it where you have a completely new data set that the older, companies have not had before. So it's kind
Right.
of it's a new view into who your customers are, what they might be doing, what they like to do, and the sphere of influence all around that, to be able to cross-sell products to to a customer and thereby provide a great solution to those customers. Talk to me a little bit about some of the data side of this. How do you guys approach that, and how are you providing those kinds of insights back to the brands who typically it's a black box for them?
Right. So data is what's driving the business. Every brand wants it. I mean, I think COVID had a big part of that as well, because then people were using social media to communicate, say, look what I'm drinking, or, check out. I mean, the greatest thing for a company or a brand is having an influencer on social media. So obviously, putting tags on websites and their product, and, driving emails, how many people are opening up the emails, how many people are coming to the site. That is the golden ticket for the brand. So that is, what everybody's working so hard for in the company is just executing that piece of it, the data, what drives the data, and making it better every day. And, obviously feedback from the brands and our own, obviously ReserveBar is its own brand too. And, should we get into TikTok or not get into TikTok? I don't know if TikTok's a ReserveBar type of, channel, but for sure get stocked. And minibar, it definitely is, because, you've got the 21-year-olds who are just starting out and, posting about what they're liking, and man, that's driving sales to a brand.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's such an interesting position in the market. Talk to me a little bit about what's next for the company. Where are you focused? Where's growth coming up in 2023 and 24?
Well, what's really exciting, and you'll hear, kind of the executive team speak about it. Derek Korea and Lindsay Held are out in Nashville right now at a program put on by Uncle Nearest, and it's really e-commerce everywhere. So getting to the consumer where they're at. So if they're reading an article online and it's talking about Casamigos tequila, being able to click right there and drive that product to cart without leaving the article. So we are powering sites to be able to sell direct to consumer. So we take care of their cart and checkout to do it. And so that's kind of all in the 3-tier system. The brand is then not selling direct to consumer. We're actually doing the transaction for them. But they get a lot of data on that consumer from that type of programming. And then, these partnerships with non-endemic, with ReserveBar. So we are putting on a gala event in Las Vegas with the Tasting Alliance. And so we teamed up with them to power their site, and they do all these spirits competitions. So the gold and double gold winners get a placement on their site, and again, allowing consumers to purchase right from their site some of the best in not only the United States, but in the world. We only power the United States piece of it, but that's a great website for consumers to find out, what's fantastic as far as spirits and wine and beer now in the world. So really exciting stuff like that. That gala in Las Vegas is June 16th and 17th, and top brands will be showcasing. So we'll be pouring their drinks. They'll have master classes. So it's really about educating the consumers and, telling that story like, we've spoken to before.
Yeah, interesting. And you mentioned the three-tier system a couple of times. Let's break that out a little bit. What is the three-tier
Yeah.
system?
So a brand, so there's the brand, you have your brand, your bottle, but they need to sell to consumers, and how they do that is actually they have to be able to be distributed. So you have the brand is one tier, the distributor is the second tier, and then the retail where that purchase takes place is the third tier. So that is, I mean, it's the legalities, the rules, and especially state by state, what can be sold. Can spirits and wine and beer all be sold in the same store? Some states they can, some states they can't.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. I mean, that's why I say when there is a product on the shelf doing well, like they went through a lot to get that to happen. So we sit above that three-tier system. That's legislated. It's each state is making rules or getting rid of rules every day. So I mean, it really is. It's a full-time job for many people to just stay on top of that piece of it. So we sit above that, and we are just that digital shelf, we like to say.
Very cool. I love it. It's such an interesting thing. And then the product, obviously, when you talk about putting the shopping cart on somebody else's website, or even the whole catalog of products, being able to turn those rules from legislation into products and functionality to say you can or can't ship into these states and all of that, having that be like embed code onto a third-party website, they don't have to deal with all of those details, makes it really interesting. So they can offer that kind of functionality to their customers, but they don't have to handle all of the inner workings of how do I take this legislation and turn it into a product.
Exactly.
Tell me a little bit about from your perspective and just in your world as head of partnerships, what kind of partnerships are you putting together?
Well, and I'll correct you. Kate Zaman is head of partnerships. I don't want her to think
Director of partnerships.
Wrong, Kathy. Yeah. So I focus on the partnerships I work on are really kind of emerging brands as far as in that RTD category. We just started working with beer brands, which is really exciting. And then the canned cocktail category, obviously that's growing. You've probably heard a lot about seltzers, and then we have spirit-based cocktails, and that's just huge category. Obviously beer is huge, but then we also have the non-alc category, which is we have non-alc beer. Our local Athletic Brewing out of Connecticut, they're just a phenomenal company that's grown so quickly and has really done amazing things for the non-alc category. And then we have non-alc canned wine and spirits. So it's really kind of exciting to see that category. So I work on that across our three holdings, our platforms. But our partnership team works with, some of the biggest suppliers. And then we also have like an emerging spirits group too, that helps new brands come on board.
Very cool. Yeah. And I know that having been in market research for a long time myself, I know that there's a lot of interesting market research kind of tactics that brands will do to get into market, quickly get some feedback, maybe, provide samples and tastings and these kinds of things. How are you doing that with those brands, knowing that it's a digital platform? How does that work in your world?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's funny. We joke about the resurgence of a QR code. So before COVID hit, no one was. It used to be something, and then it's like, oh, no one uses it.
Nobody knew
anymore.
What a QR code was before COVID.
No. And but that is what is helping. So again, these brands can go to trade shows or conferences and sample their product, but they cannot sell that directly to the consumer who's putting it to their lips and either loving it or, maybe they don't and they walk away. But if they love it, then then the brand has to say, oh, well, we're in such and such package store or retailer and it's across the street, go ahead. So they send these people that they had their
Right.
attention, they know they like the product, and they're walking away from their table without converting them to be a customer. So so we always say, so that consumer is going to go walk into that package store, and then the end cap has a sale, and or they quickly diverted and they forgot to buy your product. So with that QR code, the brands can drive them right to their page on our site, and they can offer a promo code. So if it's a weekend tasting, they could have that QR code offer, like free shipping or a percentage off. So that's where we partner with the brands, and that's what makes that digital experience, that e-commerce, worthwhile, because they can drive that consumer. And then if we are powering their store, so they're driving consumer to their white label store, same promo, but they can get all that consumer data, that PII, and then they have that information to do kind of some A/B testing. Like, okay, well, we were really heavy on the female side of that. The females really seem to like our brand. Let's test the message, to the people we know that are male, or have purchased our product with something else. So
Sure. Yeah. The whole offline to online kind of movement is a really interesting thing, especially in a category like this. And it's been such a challenge for these brands for so long to do exactly what you said. There's so much leakage, and hey, sorry, can't sell this to you, but you got to go
right
to any one of these places, and you'll likely there'll be leakage somewhere along the way that won't turn into a transaction. Whereas with that QR code scenario, you could just turn that right into a transaction.
Yeah, I was actually listening to a podcast of very well-known brand, and two women were speaking, and they were saying that they get brand recognition from t-shirts, and their consumers really love their products, so they know they're always referring and talking about the product. And then they said on the podcast, because we can't sell direct, and I was like, but
Right.
but actually you can. So so, and this was just a huge company. I just thought there's just so much ability for the brands to take advantage of that.
Yeah. Well, you have so many stories as part of the way that you engage with brands. As a content marketing company ourselves, I'm always interested to hear, what does content marketing contribute to your business and your success? Tell me a little bit about how content marketing helps ReserveBar and your other companies.
Yeah, well, I think that's what has kind of made us the top e-commerce platform out of our competitors, is the content. We have a great ReserveBar has a cocktail lounge that kind of goes behind the scenes of the brand and tells their stories. We have virtual tastings. I mean, that came up from COVID, not being able to be in person. So we have these virtual tastings. So consumers can actually see the master distillers and talk to them, and have questions answered, find out how is tequila made, and what region, and what does the nom on the bottle mean, and hear it from this person that's so passionate, who grew up in a different country, but this is their livelihood, and maybe they're distilling education came from generations and generations of them living on a farm making this tequila. So I love that. I think we're one of the best to do that. The people at ReserveBar, in the marketing department, are just in every department are outstanding. And everyone loves it. When we have sometimes we'll have a virtual tasting just for our employees with a brand, and very well attended. There's lots of great questions. We all get educated, which is great, because we're all obviously ambassadors for every brand on our site. So I think the content is so important, and I think that's the best part of it. I think for the brand, if they can find a place to have their content, and then obviously for us to have it on the site. just makes us definitely a winner in the category.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And I can see how that QR code kind of implementation can also open up a doorway to whole other experience, right? Learn
Oh
about
yeah.
learn about this product and then be able to transact on it. Are you doing any kind of tie-ins or any kind of promotions with brands where they're doing any kind of in packaging, kind of promotions to be able to promote like through a QR code that goes to your website or tells more stories
yeah.
around that? Tell me a little bit about
Yes.
that. Sounds interesting.
So, I mean, it's really kind of, like if you can think it, it can probably happen. It just, there's just a lot of logistics that would go into it. But we have Lady Gaga has a brand, and I'll have to get back to you on which one it is. But they're, I think they have a QR code that drives into kind of a 3D experience where you can, turn and go into one room and kind of a VR type. Video, which is amazing. And I think you're going to see more of that. I think you're going to start seeing more shoppable video. So, a brand can put out a video that has links to their pages on our site. So somebody could be watching on YouTube or on, connected TV and click without leaving, what they're watching, but click and add to cart. That you're going to see that. And then obviously we have digital packing slips now. So to be able to message any consumer for purchase, your specific brand after purchase with a promo, I mean, that's just, you're taking advantage of, our store, our e-commerce platform, but reaching anybody that's ordered. So, they're ordering beverage alcohol. So
they're an active audience. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's great marketing. It's really interesting to see how, again, like how you're taking these kind of best practices in the e-commerce space and bringing them to these older brands, typically older brands. There are a lot of new ones, but a lot of the older brands that are now innovating in this area. It's really exciting. I guess my last question for you here is, as you're forecasting out a year from now, what would you like to be celebrating?
I saw that question. I definitely would love to be celebrating the success of Get Stocked. That's been kind of, near and dear to my heart for the past 18 months. And we've launched and, it's just getting going. So I think it'd be
great. What is
great.
Get Stocked? Talk to me about that. What is that?
Yeah. So Get Stocked is that is our sister site to ReserveBar that's focusing on those canned occasions. So, anything in a can, the beers, the canned cocktails, what you would provision at a tailgate for, and just being able to get that, in bulk delivered to you. And so you don't have to, it's like one less thing to think about. And then, some ways that we can kind of take that to the next level is, think about vacation towns. Are you renting a house? Wouldn't it be great to show up at your rental and have, your Bev Elk supply for the beach for the week? It's already set. You were able to order. You could, schedule your delivery when you arrive, all that. So that's what we're working on with that. But also, just getting more and more stores to have that that on-demand capability on their site, powering their sites and helping brands, really reach as many consumers as possible from their own site.
Sounds like a great Airbnb tie-in, right? If you're
on
vacation, get it delivered before you get there.
I know. I was just down in Florida, and just to be, just the ability to go on your phone, and I'm like, could I get it delivered at this beach? And sure enough, I could have, but I was with my kids, so I didn't. But I did look into that. Yeah.
Very cool. That sounds great. Well, Kathy, how do people find the company? What are your websites?
Yeah. So we are reservebar.com, minibar.delivery.com, and getstocked.com. But everything can, ReserveBar, you can go to it and see everything and find it, all three.
Very cool. Love learning about the business. Congratulations with all the success.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was nice speaking with you.
You too. All right, Kathy from ReserveBar, go check them out. Thanks so much.